Unspoken Issues.
What is up, legions of the unspoken? Just wanted to let you know this is part one of a two-part episode for Wonder Woman, the Artemis Saga. So make sure to tune in a couple days as the second part of this series will drop. So you get two episodes of the Unspoken Issues this week. Let's get on with part one. Well, let's get started then, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Unspoken Issues podcast. My goodness, how many Wonder Woman comics have I ever read? 11 of them.
And you read one before.
12. Well, yes, we did. Wonder Woman Plus.
Wonder Woman Plus Jesse Quick.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Dean, tell us why you chose this story.
Well, first off, because y'all are uncultured swine who have never read any Wonder Woman.
This is true.
You're bad people.
Can't deny.
You should be mad at yourselves. No, it's fine. Wonder Woman, it's weird. Wonder Woman's one of those characters, very, very important. No one would deny her prominence. And I think in the last 20 years, they've done a great job really cementing her in as being just as the big trinity, her and Batman and Superman. And that is the DC universe on some level. But historically, we're going to read Wonder Woman. What are you going to read? You're going to read the weird BDSM shit from the Golden Age. You're probably going to read when she loses her powers and goes all karate. You're going to read when she gets her powers back. You're going to read the George Perez stuff. And there's hundreds of comics in between these eras where things just sort of happen. So I get it why you haven't read Wonder Woman. I think, like I said, I think in the last 20 years, there's a lot more emphasis on really good, creative Wonder Woman stories, etc., and getting her to a place of the place of prominence she rightly deserves as almost inarguably the number one superheroine in comic books. I picked this because it's the 90s, baby, and the 90s were full of upheaval for a lot of superheroes. Superman died and got better. Batman got his back broken, replaced, got better. Green Lantern was replaced. Hal Jordan went psycho. Would not get better for a long time, but did indeed get better. But Kyle Rayner took over. Spider-Man was replaced by his clone. The Punisher was replaced by a lady and a yuppie fascist and a lot of other guys and a mob enforcer in Suicide Run. And we remember the 1990s era of comic books as a time when there were a lot of these dynamic changes, incredible paradigm shifts. But we don't talk about this one a whole lot. And this is I think there are different reasons for it we'll get into, but Wonder Woman lost. Diana lost being Wonder Woman, was replaced, and her replacement gets killed in action. Although she gets better later. She has her own miniseries called Artemis Requiem.
Okay.
So she gets better later and everything. Don't worry. Everybody dies. Everybody gets better. You used to think that Bucky would stay dead forever, but once he's back, everybody's coming back. But I think it's peculiar that in this era of those big changes across the board, and he's constantly going back to that trope of nothing will ever be the same for Daredevil again or whatever. This just completely gets overlooked and swept under the rug. So this is the Unspoken Issues. I'm Dean fucking Compton. I'm doing the 90s. I'm doing it right. And I'm like, hey, we're gonna shed some light on this really cool story and era of Wonder Woman.
Very good. Yeah. Darry, how about you? You have any experience reading Wonder Woman?
No. I've never read Wonder Woman with any consistency. I haven't even read the arcs that Dean just mentioned. I'll be honest with you. It's never come up. I have always wanted to read this story because, as Dean mentioned, it's a classic 90s tale. And yeah, it comes in a little lower than those other ones, but it's got that same energy of, can we take everything that makes this character away from her and then kind of reintroduce you to her, right? That's what these stories are fundamentally about. Oh, Superman's not landed. Well, we're going to take him away from you. We're going to reintroduce him. You don't like the way Spider-Man's going. Well, we're going to give you his clone for a while until you can't wait until the original comes back. This is almost a microcosm of that because as
you
Dean
don't like
said,
the Avengers? We're giving them to Rob Liefeld.
Exactly. And then when they come back, it's all the classic stuff. George Perez draws them for a while. That's what it is, right? It's like you take them away, you make everyone upset, and then you bring back the classics, and suddenly everyone's like, oh man, why didn't we appreciate what we had? But this was a hell of a read. If you include the issue 0, this is 12 issues of a Wonder Woman, and it's an epic. It truly is. It retells.
And you can tell it's a smaller portion of an even larger epic that's going on. We just catch the last third or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I thought it was a hell of a ride. I'd always meant to read it. I'm deeply grateful that I actually read it. And if nothing else, if you are listening to this podcast and you're like, I have no intention of reading this book, please just look at the covers.
Yeah.
Every cover was done by Brian Bolin, and they are beautiful. Each one is a true work of art. And just, even if you just look them up online, each one is better than the last.
Yeah.
And he did the covers too for 25 issues or so prior to this run starting. So there's a lot. That's kind of what I remember when my Wonder Woman experience in the 90s is mostly me getting attracted to the cover, flipping through it at Kroger, flipping through it at the comic book store, not buying it because I got Wonder Woman in Justice League. I know that sounds terrible, but my first experience with her is in like the Super Friends cartoon. So sadly, I had to learn that Wonder Woman was a character in and of herself, which it's speaking of. Imagine that a man had to think about women a little more than he should have had to. You're like, oh man, that lady's a person. But sadly, that's where we are with our patriarchal society, which is a lot of what Wonder Woman is about.
Yep.
I would flip through those issues, and the covers just attract you immediately. And he draws everybody from Superman to Poison Ivy on these covers through his whole run doing it. So totally worth it. You're absolutely right, Darry.
Well, yeah, Darry, you mentioned consistency, and I'm probably in the same boat. I don't think that I've read too many issues of Wonder Woman consistently at all. Character-wise, you guys summed it up. If I'm reading Justice League or some big event, that's usually where I was seeing her. And some type of event, that's usually what drew me to reading some DC stuff anyway. It was kind of rare that I grabbed much, especially in the 90s. I think I was maybe reading some Batman as far as DC goes. I wasn't reading much outside of that, to be honest. Even the Death of Superman, I was kind of avoiding that. So How
could you avoid that? I swear to God, they mailed it to everyone in the world.
Yeah, that was everywhere.
You walk outside, the trade paperback hits you in the head. I'm a Perez guy, so I've done the Perez stuff, and I've skimmed the Golden Age BDSM stuff.
Yeah.
Golden Age stuff is hard for me to read, so I mostly just kind of skim it and be like, what the fuck is this?
It's funny you say that because there's so many Golden Age stuff that's so great. I'm such a huge fan of the Golden Age. So many of those characters start off as one thing and then they quickly become something else. Wonder Woman, especially when her original creators, when that original brain trust, the William Marston, his wife, their girlfriend, the artist, when they are together, that is incendiary. It doesn't read like anything else. It's it's crazy. And then he has to leave the book because he gets very ill and I believe he passes away. And then they give it to Bob Kanigher or something. Then
Bob Kanigher does it for like 20 years. And he's
my God. It's a 180. Yeah. It becomes this very generic. It's not the hyper progressive, super idealized stuff that Marston and his collaborators. In
fact, it's fairly regressive.
It is, if anything. Yeah.
A lot of it becomes now. Obviously, when he was doing the book and everything early on, it's some kinky ass shit, y'all. And Daredevil could see this kink going on. Nobody's gonna miss it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like
it's not subtext. It's text.
Right. No subtext that has its own subtext. But like you said, it's incendiary. And the great Golden Age stuff is like that. When over at MLJ, when the comet dies, or the Simon Kirby Sandman in Captain America, where it feels like it's on fire and something's going on, but some of it's utter dreck, and you're just, it can still be good, and you can still enjoy going through it. I can't read every word of it or what have you, but
no, the problem is that you had a lot of people who were turning in great work. You had Jack Cole and Plastic Man. You had the original Siegel and Schuster Superman, who would just wreck everyone he met. You had
Lou Fine on Blackhawk.
Exactly. You had people who weren't being paid attention to doing some great work, but to your point, you also had a wide field of imitators. And sometimes finding the gold amongst the lead, it's very difficult. But Golden Age Wonder Woman is a trip. It does not read like anything else that has come since or was at the time. It was made by an outsider. It is true outsider art. The only time I've ever read anything that came close to it is Grant Morrison did Wonder Woman Earth 1, and specifically it is a retelling of all those very early, very transgressive stories. But except from that, even this Wonder Woman that we read for tonight, nowhere near the weirdness of the Golden Age one.
Huh.
But that's the beauty of Golden Age stuff, though. There's also, God, I can't remember his name, but all he does is weird stuff. And then you have Matt Fox, who did like the weird Tales covers and stuff. You can just do anything. Oh, well, here's Satan, and he's got an extra hole in his belly, and
Exactly.
it's breathing fire into this old lady's face, and the fire's somehow coming out her butt, and the kid's eating it out of a bowl. And they're like, what the fuck is this?
No, it's true.
The name
Man.
of the comic is like National Horror. You're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Before the code, man, they just did stuff. There was no one there to tell them you can't do this. It was just like, no, is it selling? Then do it. No one's paying attention to us until the code comes in 54, 55. It's wild. Not only is everyone violent, to your point, Satan shows up in half the books, and it's just like, I'm the devil. I want your children's souls. And it's like, no, Wildcat's gonna punch you in the mouth until you
right in the face. Right. Until the book changes, and then later on, Wildcat will be like, "Come in here for my horror tales, kids." You know? That's the thing about the Golden Age, though, is there was an accepted and known adult readership. And everybody, without there being a codified rating system, I'm not saying no kid ever read Crime Does Not Pay with the gory fucking anti-crime stuff, but you knew kids weren't really supposed to do that. There were things that were more tailored towards children, some directly towards young ladies, young men, etc. So, and the code killed all that. But yeah, we're way off topic. We'll get back to Wonder Woman. But yeah, Wonder Woman, Golden Age shit, it's a trip. Scope it.
Yeah, damn. Wow. That's why
Jesse's going to get it right now.
That's why I do this show, so I can learn.
Times, my God.
Yeah. So yeah. Hey, fast forward to the 90s here, near the middle of 94 or so, where issue 90 comes out, and our creative team, just to kind of throw them out here, I want to talk about William Messner Loebs first. Dean, you got any insight on Mr. Loebs and what he's written in the past?
Just a really good writer who, I don't know exactly how to say this. God, everything, when he writes things, he somehow makes the fantastical real in a good way. It's not overbearing, or you're like, oh my God, here's Moon Knight doing his taxes because he's a mercenary or what the fuck ever, arguing with the H&R Block guy. But it's more like he builds a world where everyone acts a certain way and everyone interacts a certain way, and it winds up very, very believable. He did some great work on The Flash and The Max, and because I believe he scripted The Max, right?
We talking Images, Sam Keith, The Max? Well, his name's definitely here on, scripted The Max there for, looks like, I guess, starting from issue 1 all
Pretty
the
much
way.
the whole time, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's just really, really good at melding mythologies and making the characters making the world seem real, but not overbearingly new universe bullshit real. That's the best way to put it. And he's had a lot of financial issues in the last 15 or 20 years. So if you can help him out, help him out. Good guy.
Then we have our artist, which is Mike Deodato Jr., which he is taking
MDJ.
over. He's taken over here. He's introduced with issue 90. And he's going to be the regular artist, supposedly, for a little while.
I think so.
Looking at his work, well, just real quick, we were talking about a book that I remember recently covering that Deodato Jr. was on, and it was called The Fourth Man, and it came out 2 years ago. And it's a really good crime noir tale of these bodies in this small town, and I liked it. I thought it was really good.
Isn't. It's about the secret fourth member of the Fantastic Four.
Actually, it's about Sting and joining the Four Horsemen. or it might have been the NWO, and it could have been Hulk Hogan. Is he the fourth man?
Is he the second man? Who knows? It could be anyway. It could be Darry. Darry could be NWO for life.
This is true.
I'll be honest with you. I am. I'm absolutely NWO for life.
Yes, of course.
If Sean Waltman asked me to do something right now, I'd be like, absolutely, Sean.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, yeah. So I noticed that if you look at Deodato's art, especially in this book, I really thought to myself, this guy was an image guy. At least at some point, he had to have been. Guess what? Not the case. He's definitely got that.
Which is weird because you'd think the Robotech Wiki would have let you know that he had never done that. You would think that. I know you're always going to the RT dubs. So
that's true. He did apparently do some art for Maximum Comics. That's image adjacent when you say
Maximum Press.
Maximum Press, yeah.
Maximum Press. Asylum, yeah. Asylum number one, or no, excuse me. Asylum number 2. Oh. Lady Pendragon.
Lady Pendragon. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Listen. Rob Liefeld. Honestly, people would chastise him for making stuff like Priest or Lady Pendragon or Evangeline, but I respect it. Rob Liefeld. He's never seen a money train that he thought was going so fast that he couldn't jump on it. And at heart, that's what comic books have always been from the start of it. It's like
always been.
Martin Goodman's like, this is what the people want. Give them what they want. Give them what they want. And I know Rob Liefeld sometimes will get chastised and people will call him plagiarist or he's ripping stuff off. And like we can debate about how far he goes. But listen, he's not wrong at the time. Market wants a bad girl comic. The market wants Lady Pendragon. Give him Lady Pendragon.
Liefeld's got more in common with the founders of this industry than we are comfortable admitting. I would say
I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Liefeld taps into an earlier totem of the way we got this. This
Absolutely.
Industry was founded by bootleggers and people looking to hide their money.
The mob.
No, I'm not saying Liefeld's in the mob, but Liefeld has the same instinct of what do the people who are actually paying for these things want. I'm going to give them that, and I'm going to give them that until they stop wanting it, and then I'm going to follow the next thing. Yeah. And he's still doing it to today. I don't know how many people tell me to listen to his podcast. He talks about the 90s. He was there. Our previous guest, Gregory Wright, spoke very highly of not only the podcast, but his time in Grunwald's office. The guy is living history, so...
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying this to belittle Liefeld. It's a good thing.
No.
It's not, listen, it doesn't always necessarily make the best results. If you put out 50 comics and 3 of them are really good, you won. Give me what you want. This is what the market's asking for. See if you can hit gold a few more times. And like you said, until they want something else. And maybe you'll find that in something else, or maybe somebody else will. It's kind of like what Aretha Franklin said once. Sometimes you write the song, you find the song, sometimes the song finds you.
I always go back to one thing with Rob Liefeld. It's like, yeah, he's responsible for Youngblood, and he's responsible for a lot of stuff that people like making fun of, myself included.
Dope, though.
Regardless of the fact that we bought it. He also is responsible for all the highbrow Alan Moore stuff that he did when he didn't want to work for the big two. That was Rob. Rob showed up, and Rob's like, what do you want to do? Yeah, you want my characters? You want money? You want this, that, and the other? Here you go. And when he couldn't do it anymore, Alan took those ideas to Jim Lee and and DC and all this other stuff. But that started with Liefeld. And that is important because it's like the man knows what the market wants. So
it's true.
Yeah. But I don't know that he ever drew much Wonder Woman.
He drew Glory.
That's true. A lot of Glory.
I got more Glory comics in my collection than I got Wonder Woman. I'll admit that.
Fair.
I'll have to say the same.
One of the premier members of the Allies.
That's right.
Die Hard, Super Patriot, Supreme.
Glory.
You better
Super
watch
Patriot.
The fuck out.
A Cyber Data alum.
That's right.
Super Patriot is a Cyber Data alum. So
yeah.
There are 6 comics on Mike's Amazing World of Comics that Mike Deodato Jr. had his hand in prior to taking over the art for this Wonder Woman here. So I'm going to read them to you. Ferret number 1.
Marvel Comics Presents.
No. Malibu. 4 of them are Malibu comics, which is Ferret number 1. He was the anchor there.
Right. He did some Genesis stuff in the Genesis universe.
Right. Protectors number 1 and number 2. He was inks on that.
Nice.
Arrow number 1, still a Malibu.
I've got an arrow for you too, pal. But the house ad said. I love these books. I love these. I got a Protectors poster above my desk. I love that shit.
Nice.
He really does. It's that for those listening at home, that is not he really does have a Protectors poster.
It's there.
I love that. I love that shit.
Flash number 89, he was inks on that. And then Wonder Woman, he showed up at Wonder Woman for 1 issue prior to this, which was issue number 85. He was penciler in February of 94. And then when this hit, issue number 90 hit the stands July of 1994, he took over as regular artist. So there you go. That's Mike Deodato Jr. And yeah, I'll probably talk a little bit more about the art as we go through this. But man, I was really impressed with what we got here. Now, as for the rest of our creative team, just kind of throw the rest of these guys out there. We've got on letters, John Costanza. I've just said his name a lot here.
Man,
lately.
that dude, goddamn, he fucking lettered everything.
I know, dude.
Every time you say it, like I have to rule out George Costanza.
Yes, same here.
I'm like John Costanza. No.
John.
No. Not that guy. He's fake.
Patricia Mulvihill on colors. And that rounds us out there.
Well, they did a great job all the way through.
Yes, they did. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk the Artemis Saga. This is, like Darry said, this is 12 issues. Jam-packed. This first synopsis I'm going to do is going to cover issues 90, number 0, 91, 92, and 93. This is kind of Diana's...
And the first 3 are story in of themselves, right?
Yeah,
like part 1, part 2, and part 3. So
yeah, and I what I did is I took this up to when they leave Themyscira. Believe me.
I know, makes sense. I
want to be messing that up.
But yeah, this is more like a Netflix show than a movie.
Agreed.
That's kind of the way I would put this saga. It's long, but it pays off in the end. But it's more like you can easily see these thirds, like you've got it divided up.
Guys, feel free to hop in there if I'm missing anything, or if there's something you want to make sure that I say. The synopsis I did, based it all off of my notes, and yesterday I spent all day. It was started about 7:00 in the morning, and I went through most of the day and got these notes in there, and here we go. In issue number 90, Wonder Woman returns to Themyscira to find herself alone, but is attacked by someone shooting an arrow at her. Before she could find out who it was, her friends Mala and Helen find her and welcome her back, taking her to her mother, Hippolyta. How's that sound? Am I doing all right? Hippolyta?
Hippolyta?
Hippolyta. There we go.
That's how I would say it.
I like it.
I think any way you pronounce it is correct.
Taking her to her mother, Hippolyta. They mentioned there was a war on Themyscira and a siege of demons as well. Wonder Woman explains she found Themyscira after seeing through some magic barrier that Circe, the sorceress, had put up. She learns from her mother about the events during her absence, including her sister, which is Wonder Woman's aunt, Antiope. And
Antiope.
Please, thank you very much. Antiope. I need a phonetic breakdown for every single one of these fucking things.
Here's the thing. Honestly, you're doing your best. There's no reason to be upset. You're trying to read a word. When was the last time you had an extended conversation about the Greek gods?
Greek mythology?
What are we going? Are we going to boarding school in 1918? Are we going to learn fucking Latin? What the fuck are we talking about? Of course you don't know Antiope. I had to ask Emily. I was like, hey, how do you say this?
Antiope. All right. She learns from her mother about the events during her absence, including her sister, Antiope, leading a sect of Amazons against their own people, and Circe teleporting Themyscira into a world of demons. The Amazons suffered losses but eventually returned. Hippolyta hopes that Wonder Woman made changes in the man's world during her absence, but is disheartened to realize that nothing real significant had actually changed. There's a disagreement about sending other Amazons with Wonder Woman to help her make decisions, which she refuses. So later, a council is convened and Hippolyta aims to choose a new Wonder Woman. We go into issue 0, which delves into Diana's confrontation with Hippolyta regarding the upcoming contest. Diana reminisces about the previous contest that she had won by disguising herself with the mask of Heracles. Got that one right? Come on, tell me I got it right.
I believe it's the mask of Proteus. The mask of Proteus, it was used to fool Heracles, and Heracles is Hercules.
Gotcha. Okay, mask of Proteus.
It's okay. They're throwing a lot of names at you. You're doing your best. You're doing your best.
Proteus
very well, you know.
Well known as a Scottish champion of the oppressed. So
yeah,
mask.
I took a Greeks and Romans class when I was in Upward Bound, so pretty much an expert on this.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Jeez.
There's a subsite.
Well, why
Unspoken Issues.
Hold on.
It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. It's every time you say something like that, you become more consistently you. It doesn't surprise me. That's the problem. I wish it surprised me. It doesn't. Every time you say something like that, it's like, yeah, I believe that's true because it's you. It's such a
I won an award. I won the Thucydides Award for best history writing.
Say it again.
Thucydides.
Damn. All
like,
right,
it's
then.
actually, it's like THU and then the Y like it's an I. Thu is Cides. It looks like side, C-I-D-E-S, but through is Cides. It's fine.
I didn't even know that was a word till right now.
Do you guys remember in The Fifth Element, Bruce Willis says, "I speak two languages, English and bad English." That's what I bring to the table here. I can barely pronounce words the way they're supposed to be pronounced. I certainly can't pronounce Greek words.
Isn't Bad English a band?
Bad English, I think, is a band, as a matter of fact.
If Jesse says it's a band, then it's definitely.
I'm pretty sure.
Smile. I think they sing When I See You Smile.
I know that song. That's a good one.
Very good.
Yeah.
So she won.
Look at me. I'm going from fucking Rome to rock and roll. Y'all better keep up.
Yeah.
You are what is meant by the term polymath, man. If you had lived in Venice 500 years ago, Leonardo would have been like, "Oh man, I got to step my shit up."
Yeah, especially if he's trying to outsmoke me.
Diana reminisces about the previous contest she won by disguising herself with the mask of Proteus. She meets Artemis, who reveals the dire living conditions of her faction of Amazons. Diana touches a sculpture there and experiences a vision of the past, witnessing Antiope's struggles against Heracles. She awakens bleeding and fearing death, or feared to be dead, I should say. But she's okay. In issue number 91, she's fine. In issue number 91, the contest begins, and Diana is insisting on allowing any Amazon from Antiope's factions to join if they want to. If they want to participate, they can. Diana tries to reach out to Artemis during this time, and there's a lot of tension there. Artemis she's definitely harbors some, what's the best word here, Dean? She harbors some
animosity.
Animosity is a great word, towards the Amazons, especially Hippolyta's Amazons.
Well, yeah, she is one of the others. She feels like they were human shields. They were put in a meat grinder.
Right. Diana experiences another vision from the past where she sees Heracles planning to corrupt Themyscira. Doubts about her mother's honesty start to arise. As the contest progresses, Diana's team faces various challenges, including an attack. One of which is, again, she's attacked by arrows. Now, that's not one of the challenges. That just happens at one of the challenges. Arrowed all the time throughout this thing. Somebody's shooting an arrow at her all the time, but you can't ever tell who it is. Now, in issue number 92...
It was Arrow from the Genesis universe, like we talked about earlier.
Whoa!
Like the Mike Deodato. That's why Mike Deodato was like, I got a guy for this. If we're going to use arrows, I have a guy. You'll never believe what his name is. Spoiler, he's not in there. But I do love that shit.
We find out in issue number 92, during the contest, Diana's team faces perilous challenges, including a deadly race. Diana experiences more visions of the past, revealing the treachery of Heracles and the bravery of Antiope. She survives harpy attacks and confronts Medusa, ultimately losing the race to Artemis. Now, issue 93 sees Artemis crowned as the new Wonder Woman, but doubts linger among other Amazons about her ability to represent them in man's world.
Hey, don't forget here in your thing, I want to throw this in like you asked. They give her god gadgets because she doesn't have any superpowers. Wonder Woman is a gift of the gods. She can fly and has super strength and all this stuff when she's not on Paradise Island to Themyscira. Artemis ain't got that, so they give her that bracer of Ares, I want to say, and something else. I can't remember what it is. They're trying to even the playing field because she's not going to be able to go do Diana stuff.
I think there's a Gauntlet of Atlas. Is that right?
Yeah, Gauntlet of Atlas. That's what it is.
Yeah, Gauntlet of Atlas. And then she
increases her strength 10 times.
She also has some type of sandals from, my goodness, Hermes sandals, where she allows her to fly.
Hermes is the messenger of the gods, Mercury in the Roman side. I'm keeping it up for you.
I love it. Doubts
I do want to say, though, earlier I said that I knew a lot about this, but I'm just kidding. I took a class once 27 years ago. Well,
you've remembered it. That's the key thing. You took the class and I assume you passed. You didn't fail.
I won the Thucydides Award.
Oh, he did. That's right. Thucydides.
Made an A, brother.
So now Diana finally confronts her mom about the visions that she's been having. During these times, she keeps flashing back to the past, and she's watching her mother, who fell in love with Heracles. And Antiope was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, I love him. And then the wedding comes, and it turns out, there's some Heracles has got some bad intentions and has brought men there to do some bad things. So anyway.
This is about to be an episode of Olympian Jerry Springer.
Yes, it is. Diana finally confronts her mom about this, and they're still, even at the end of their conversation, she asks, like, hey, am I the daughter of Heracles? And she's like, well, don't even worry about answering that, because no matter what you say, I'm not going to believe you anyway. So there's a lot of tension and a lot of distrust now that Diana has with her mom. So they leave. They head from Themyscira back to Boston. It's Artemis and it's Diana. They show up and they intervene there was a gang war that's been going on between, oh my goodness, Mrs. Sazia, the widow Sazia, I think is what they call her. And is it Tony Longo? Is that his name?
That
Tony
seems
Longo?
to be his name.
I'll figure it out here in a second. But yeah, we've got a mob war going on. They show up in
there
this
always
issue.
seems to be a mob war.
Yeah, it's not too hard to find them.
Do we know who stuck her in Boston? Because talk about an uninteresting place for this person to be. Like, do we? Like, this is complete nonsense. What's her name? Artemis is like, I'm going to New York. This is garbage. Your city is garbage. Do we know who stuck Wonder Woman? Wonder Woman has never had a home city. She's been in D.C. She's been in Gateway. She's been in a bunch of freaking nonsense. Do we know what poor writer stuck her in Boston? Was it Perez? Because if it was Perez, I want to retract that and say it was genius.
I don't recall off the top of my head. When I think of Perez's Wonder Woman, honestly, I don't remember many of the stories. I just remember the gorgeous pictures of the gods hanging around and doing god stuff and wearing togas.
Every time I see a superhero in Boston, I think Kurt Busiek was responsible for that because he's from there, and he seems to be able to sell people on it for some ungodly reason. But as soon as it was like Wonder Woman has to return to Boston so she can fight cyborgs, I'm like, oh, Lord, I don't know how much of this I have in me.
Well, honestly, if you ask me, no, I don't think she's ever had, like you said, an entrenched home. But it should be, listen, it should be Washington, D.C., right? Or it should be New York, because she should be at the United Nations a lot. Or she should be, if Themyscira has an embassy, she'd be this embassy a lot. Because one of the interesting things about Wonder Woman is she's not just a superhero and she's not just an Amazon. She is a princess. She is the de facto head of state for her island because they don't have any other interactions for the most part until later when they seem to attack everybody every 15 minutes. But
I have what the kids like to call a hot take on Wonder Woman.
All right, well, let's hear it.
I think Wonder Woman should constantly be based in the worst city in the world, right? Because think about what her mission is, right? She wins this contest, the ancient, immortal, the greatest warriors who've decided on a course of peace, who are directly descended from the gods that founded Western civilization, are like, you are going, you're going to end World War II, you're going to teach everyone peace, you're going to liberate the underclass. She shouldn't be in New York or D.C. She should be in, I don't know, 2000 era Baltimore or whatever has a crime and poverty rate in the triple digits. She should be in whatever part of Mississippi just is about to turn feral. And I'm not saying that just to be weird. It's
no, I get what you're saying.
That is what Wonder Woman says she wants to be. Superman fights alien invaders. Batman wants to save the city that raised him. Diana has no direct connection to the outside world. She comes from a place that's literally called paradise. It's where we get the word from. So it's like, you know what? You should go to the worst place in the world. I always go back to this. My favorite Wonder Woman story of all time is the 4 or 5 scenes that she has in Darwin Cook's New Frontier. And in that story, he makes a point of sending her to whatever area is most war-torn and treating its women the poorest. So the first time you see her, she is freeing women from tiger cages and giving them their oppressive sons.
Right. She's arming the war widows, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And saying, now you get to make a decision, and stops everyone else from doing this. Is like, I am going to level the playing field with all of the strength that Zeus and Heracles and everyone has given me. So I'm not, again, I haven't read all of these comics, so there might be some great stories here, but that's always been my inclination. You are the Wonder Woman. You are the second most powerful superhero on the entire planet. Go to the worst place ever and see how many people you can actually help.
That's a good take, and I don't disagree with it. I think it is a very good slant on the character. like I said, I'm very interested in the politics of Wonder Woman. And so that doesn't lend itself as well to that. But they're both, what's the word I'm looking for? They're both just interesting takes. I would read that Wonder Woman, just like I would read the Wonder Woman where she's got to be like, hey, listen up, America. I'm tired of you selling arms to third world countries and then saying, hey, this third world country's got arms and invading it because they have the arms you sold them. And shit like that. And I'm going to talk about this at the United Nations while at the same time punching, I don't know, Super Commando or some guy, because somebody's got to get punched. But I would like to see, like you're saying, the humanitarian side of that too, where she's like directly helping women as often as she can. If nothing else, just is something that we see her do, even if that's not her base of operations all the time. Like you said, show her going to Mississippi, show her going to poor areas of Mississippi, show her going to poor Central Asian countries where Turkmenistan, where it's very, very oppressive against women, or Central African areas where they're rape soldiers and stuff. And again, I don't want to badmouth any of these areas. A lot of great people from them. I'm not trying to say, don't go to Africa, you'll get raped. I don't want to come across that way, but we do know that there are, like you're saying, there are areas of usually abject poverty where women are much more endangered, and it would be good to see Wonder Woman at least go there sometimes. I think you're 100% right. I think that would really help get the character over in a better way. To be fair, for all I know, somebody's done that in the last 20 years.
Exactly. I haven't read every Wonder Woman story. So.
Somebody may have done that. We may be the geniuses that just invented the car, but you never know.
And I would say it doesn't have to be limited to women too, because I always thought one of the interesting things about Diana is, unlike all her sisters and her mother and everyone else who's kind of like, we don't like men, we don't want to deal with them. Diana's like, no, I don't think they're all bad. I do think they're responsible for most of the problems that we're going to face when I go out there. I don't think they're all bad. So I really do like the idea that Diana's like, are you in poverty? Are you impoverished? Are you disenfranchised because of who you are, because of the system you found yourself in? Well, that's nonsense. I come from paradise, and I'm going to bring as much of that to you as I can. So I always like the idea. There's this great line I always go back to, and it's a throwaway line. But in Deceased, Tom Taylor had her say something along the lines of, someone's complaining about how much something costs. And she goes, no, that's not true, because money no longer has any value. Society has collapsed. And then there's a pause, and she goes, and I welcome that. And I always like that, because it's this idea of like, oh yeah, Diana actually comes from a place where socialism worked, right? All the Amazons work towards a central goal. They're all immortal. They all live in lavish luxury, but she chooses to leave there because she's like, it's not fair. The 99.9% of the population outside of our doors doesn't have that. I'm going to do what I can to make sure that at least a few people get that. So I don't know. I was always fascinated by the humanitarian aspect of Wonder Woman, because I think that separates her from everyone else. She will fight an alien invasion and she will win, but that's not why she's set on her course. That really does separate her from everything else. She is our history. She is myth brought into the modern era. And even if you incorporate all the stuff that Moulton was doing, which I'm not qualified enough to discuss, that's still the backbone of this idea, saying she can make the world better for everyone. So I find that very interesting for a character who's been around for 80 years.
I think that's another, it's like you said, you forget that Wonder Woman is like a superhero secondarily in a lot of ways. I feel like the Fantastic Four is similar. You think that they're superheroes. They're really scientist adventurers. They're not really, yes, they wind up fighting alien adventurers or alien invaders because they're invading and somebody's got to. But what they really do is science stuff. They go to the negative zone. They don't go to the negative zone to conquer it. They go to take measurements and stuff like that. And yeah, you're right. I think one of the big misconceptions of feminism is that it's bad for men, but really it would be better for men to unload some of the inhibitions and patriarchal expectations for us as well, holding in emotions. Men kill themselves at an alarmingly large rate. They usually do it with a gun, which makes it very final. And like, why is that? Because men are castigated when they seek mental health, etc. We could go on with that stuff. But yes, in the long run, and even directly, sometimes it does help men. Later on in this, when she gets the guy who's stalking somebody, she takes him away. She makes it a point to say, one of you is going to kill the other one. Not he's going to kill her, although, let's be honest, that's the most likely scenario.
Right.
But it's not like women don't kill men sometimes, and it's just a bad situation. She doesn't want to see this guy get murdered any more than the lady get murdered. So we do see that later. So Wonder Woman does have a lot more respect for men than her fellow, the Mycerians, the other Amazons. To be fair, all of them have talked to one guy ever, and most of them stayed away, so who knows? They probably would be a lot cooler if they could talk to 4 of them.
That scene that you're describing, by the way, when she takes the stalker, the potential abuser, and just removes him from the situation, right, is like, do not go back there, but provides him. Yeah, exactly. But provides him with therapy. I thought that was great because she's like, she's Wonder Woman. She could kill him. She could make it look like an accident. She could do whatever she wanted to. She still has all her power, even.
And she does make him very uncomfortable, which is fine. He deserves to be very uncomfortable.
But she gives him another option. She says, well, I'm saying I've got enough resources where it's like, here, if you really are serious about trying to do something with your life, here it is. And if you go back there and if you stalk this poor woman again, I'm going to know you're doing it for the worst intentions. I'm giving you, this is it. This is your second chance. And again, it's just such a wonderful thing to see because she's trying desperately not to use violence. And that is a great thing that the contest shows us too, is how willing some of her sisters are to resort to that. She can win a war, right? She is descended from all the gods, including the gods of war and strategy and the hunt, but she doesn't want to rely on that. She is trying her hardest not have to go back to that. And I think that's a beautiful message, and it's one of the things that Bill Loeb's really captures in the contest.
And also, again, and this comes back to one of my, like I've been talking about, Wonder Woman is also a person of the state. So, yes, this is this guy's one chance. And while she does not prefer to be violent, the state feels like it has, and she feels like as part of the apparatus of her state, she has a right to utilize violence if she sees fit, and he gets his chance. But if she has to use violence, she won't feel terrifically bad about it. And she also doesn't feel like she has to trust people. I forget the comic book, but at one point her and Batman are at odds, and he tells her that he's got to let her up because he evokes some Amazonian code that should mean that he gets mercy. And she just knocks him out anyway. She's like, yeah, but you're lying. You're Batman. I'm the state. I don't have to, just because you asked for this doesn't mean I have to bestow it upon you. And while that has its horrific implications, it's interesting to see in Diana, who is such an intrinsically good person.
George Perez's last issue of Wonder Woman was issue 62. So that was December. Well, cover dated February of 92. And the reason I was looking this up is because Darry had asked, like, who stuck her in Boston. So I was like, oh, I wonder. I don't have an answer to that, but I can tell you that issue 73, February of 93, is up at the top. It says Diana's new job.
Yeah, and she's the Taco Whiz.
Yeah, she's holding the Taco Whiz.
Which later on in the Jesse Quick, we learned she was Employee of the Month.
That's right, she was. Yeah. That's right.
Of course she would be. That's the maddening thing about Wonder Woman is she would be hard to work with anywhere because he's like, hey, let's slack off and smoke a J. And she's like, Dean, I expected more of you, even though you are of man's world and man's blood flows within you. I thought that maybe you could see this as an Amazonian for once. I'm like, okay, goddamn, I'll just stand here at drive-through. Fuck.
She would talk you out of it.
Yeah.
Easily.
But you have to respect it because she lived it.
That's right.
You don't normally like goodies, but the few ones that I tend to actually like are the ones who are like, well, they're not doing they're not demanding anything out of me that they're not doing. And that's how Wonder Woman is.
The gang war that they step in, they find out that there's Tony Longo's involved, Widow Sasia, however you want to say that, and the White Magician as well, which Diana's had a run-in with here previously. She also,
I think he's a baby face who's made a heel turn.
That's what that's kind of what I was gathering. I want to say
that I had read some stuff earlier with him in it in Wonder Woman.
One of the things that Diana has to kind of get used to is the fact that, she's back in Boston now, and she starts to realize the stress that financial responsibility puts on a person. So she's kind of trying to gather her bearings and get ready she's got to figure out a way to make some money. We'll just put it that way. And it turns out there's a bit of a financial opportunity she has with her friend Micah. Micah is looking to, I assume there was some kind of interaction prior to these issues where he's trying to get her to become involved in like a detective agency.
Yeah, again, I've skimmed them before. This is the last part of a larger
Right.
era where things have been building up with the supporting characters and subplots and stuff.
Yeah. Now, Artemis, on the other hand, seeks to establish herself in New York, makes a public declaration to end violence and oppression against women as the new Wonder Woman. Also, I think she gets involved with a promotional company, or what I would call, I guess, a PR firm or a PR
like
company.
A PR agency or something.
Right. So there's Artemis. She's had letting the people know that she has arrived and things are going to change. The new Wonder Woman is in town. There you go, guys. That is the first bit that we're going to stop with, the first synopsis here. Darry, we'll start with you here, man. We had the contest, the whole saga that happened on Themyscira before they get back. We got Diana experiencing flashbacks of a different order where she's actually almost transporting her I wouldn't say consciousness.
Diana, am I right?
She can't. She can't control.
You got it.
I get it. She can't control Tiope's body in any way, but she's there to watch what's happening. So she's watching all this go down. So she's seeing all these visions of Hippolyta and Antiope.
You're a better man than me. I wouldn't even try to. However it comes out, it comes out.
Diana's mom and her aunt. She's watching all this. She's watching all this go down in the past, and it's getting to be some pretty crazy stuff. And of course, we got the contest that's going on. So, Darry, I'm turning it over to you here, man. What'd you think of these issues?
These were great. These were a great introduction because they kind of retell her origin, and like we said at the top of the show, a lot of us haven't read the stories, right? I don't even know that I've ever read the first appearance of Wonder Woman, and shame on me. I'm not bragging about that. I know that I probably haven't. So I like this. I thought this was a good way. If I had been lucky enough to get these issues when they came out, this would have been a good introduction to the character. One of the things I love about Wonder Woman, I liked it in the movies, I liked it in every iteration, is her primary dynamic comes from the fact that like her and her mother butt heads, which I feel is a very natural thing for the character to do, but also it comes from a place of love on the mother's side, right? She truly, every parent views their kid as the greatest thing in the world. Hippolyta, Polly, she knows for a fact the fact that she was able to have a kid was literally a boon from the gods. Mm-hmm. So the idea that her daughter wants to go out of the world and save it to the best of her ability and is willing to do anything to accomplish that is probably making her very proud, but is making her terrified. And the fact that Polly's willing to bend over backwards to be like, absolutely not. I want you here where it's safe and you could be immortal and I don't have to worry about you, I think is a great driving dynamic for the character. I also love...
also because of the future retcon, because John Byrne's going to take her and put her Hippolyta into World War II.
Yes, he is.
So if you look at this, you know about the future history, which sounds very weird to say, but it's superhero comics. Bear with us. If you take that knowledge and put it here, it makes even more sense why she doesn't want her to go out.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those really natural motivations for an antagonist. And the fact that
I fought cyborg Nazis in the 40s. It's rough out there. It's rough out there.
Oh man, but no, I liked it. I like this idea that it's well, why did you go out there? Well, you're Wonder Woman. Well, why are you Wonder Woman? Oh, you're Wonder Woman because you won a contest. Well, you know what? We're having another contest. We got a whole group of people who didn't get to participate the first time, and we just won a war against, I don't know, magic bear demons or something that happened before this book opened. So
the demon bears from the New Mutants that Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yeah. Literally, Bill Sienkiewicz's demon bear attacked Greece prior to this story opening.
They announced that they're going to reprint the Marvel DC crossovers again today. They know they shouldn't miss this one.
No. Oh,
wait, is that true? Are they really going to do that?
Yeah, they announced today. Bleeding Cool said that they're going to do Marvel versus DC and the amalgam stuff. Ooh. And the all the crossovers up through, I guess, JLA Avengers. And honestly, it might be good news because it might mean they'll do more crossovers in the future.
That's nice.
Wow. Oh,
they'll probably be omnibuses, but I suggest you get them, gentlemen. Don't wait.
Yeah, no, don't sleep on those. Those ain't coming back again.
Also, I want to say you're welcome. Because last year I bought all the crossover classics and the amalgam trade paperbacks, and they were expensive, and you are welcome.
Well, we appreciate that.
No
I appreciate you, Dean. I really do. It never generates. The other thing I like about the contest is it's a constant chance. Again, I don't know Bill Lopes personally. I haven't read a lot of his other work, but it's a constant chance for him to show good character work. Diana's the one who says, no, you have to let the other Amazons participate. And they make a point of saying Artemis went out of her way to say we shouldn't go and fight with other people. It's these really little things that tells you that the creator understands the characters and thought this stuff through, so that when the big beats happen later on, they've done the legwork. Now, a lot of that's buried in incredibly suggestive artwork that is of the time. Jesse, before you said you cannot believe that Deodato wasn't an image artist. I feel the same way. His art style rapidly and radically changes. If you buy a Deodato book today, it does not look like this.
Right.
This looks like it could be a Rob Liefeld or a little later J. Scott Campbell thing. It is of its era in an amazing way, but it doesn't stay that way. And if you can get past that and read it with today's context, you really do get a great story.
We just covered how many comics he did before this. He's doing fantastic work here at a really early stage in his career, if that's the case. Go ahead, Dean.
Well, also he was smart enough, like you said, his style has changed now, but he was like, this is what the people want. Yeah. And DC at that time, honestly, they had a few really good guys at the time, but they did not have those dynamic image looking guys that were at Image. And even Marvel had the next wave of Joe Mads and
Kuberts.
The Kuberts and Stephen Platt and these other guys. And I know a lot of them wound up at Image anyway. But DC didn't have that. They had Travis Charest, then he was gone. Now they had a lot of good guys like Dan Jurgens and Brett Breeding and Jim Aparo and Kelly Jones doing great Batman covers and stuff. But yeah, they needed somebody like this, and he was smart to have this style at that time to get onto a big book.
Yeah. So switching gears here real quick, Darry, did you have any thoughts on Artemis?
Yeah, I am actually a huge fan of Artemis. I read the Artemis Requiem book when it came out back in the day.
So you were the one.
I
liked Artemis too. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, again, it was the same reason that I always tell people I really like the Scarlet Spider. It was you're a kid, you're just trying to get into this stuff. You can try your best to catch up on decades worth of continuity, or you can read the new person, and hopefully maybe that'll take off. It's the same way with Artemis. I knew Wonder Woman had a very expansive, very long-running continuity. I knew that this new character seemed to be a big deal, so I picked up the miniseries. Wasn't very good. I don't know that I've read it since, but the character has a lot of potential because, like I was saying before, she really is a reinterpretation for the 90s of the idea. She wins the contests. She's noble. She wants to do the right thing, and she becomes Wonder Woman. She goes to the outside world. Now, she fails in spectacular fashion, which I find really, really interesting as the story goes on, but for the right reasons. And Diana almost learns that, hey, what this young woman needed, and they make a point of saying she's in Amazon terms, she's really only a teenager. Diana had been her mentor or something like that. They probably would have made a great team, and they probably would have got a lot accomplished. But Artemis gets bogged down in all this other crap. But I thought she was great. Really, if you want to compare her with Azrael or any of the Reign of the Superman, she's a really strong contender. She's still around today, right? She was in the Outlaws book for a very long time. She still pops up. She was in the movies, and she's not a bad character. It's this idea of doing what Diana did, just in a slightly different way. So if that's his major contribution to the mythos, I think Lopes did a great job.
I remember when I first saw the promos for this and they had the black suited Diana, and I was like, I thought that was going to be Artemis, and I was like, Artemis just looks like Wonder Woman. Well, as it turns out, I like the character, and I also like that they didn't stick her just within this universe. At one point, they mentioned that she tries to go to the Justice League and be like, hey, motherfuckers, I'm Wonder Woman now, so I'm in on this. And they're like, yeah, listen, Wonder Woman's, even if you are Wonder Woman, you're not Wonder Woman to us, so you cannot be on our team. Please leave. And so it's cool. I always like that, like when Grant Morrison used the electric blue Superman in JLA, when you would see those reverberations from individual books. You didn't have to read this book for any reason, but if you did, it just enmeshed you more into that shared universe. I think Artemis looks cool. I think she has a great attitude. I like how, I don't want to sound too cliched, like, she's angsty, but she's kind of the anti-Wonder Woman. She's very arrogant. Wonder Woman's also arrogant because one of the secrets of nobility is you have to be condescending to be noble. It's one of those weird things. If you're of the aristocracy, or a monarchy like she is. Artemis is just straight up with her arrogance, just straight up in front of everyone. She's like Darry said, she's very much a teenager, and that's interesting to me. An Amazonian teenager who isn't Donna Troy, who at this point I don't know what. I think she was a Dark Star right now.
How about this revelation that's happening between, well, where Diana's watching these visions happen, where Antiope and Hippolyta are having this interaction with Heracles, and she finds out that, hey,
her mom sucks.
Yeah, her mom's not the greatest. So,
and that doesn't, and obviously it's different for everybody. Everybody learns something about their parents like that. Like, your parents let you down. At some point, you learn something about your mom and your dad or step parents or whatever, and you're like, man, that really sucks. I thought it's not necessarily that you thought that they were infallible, but you're like, how could they make that kind of mistake? But now we've all been alive for 40 some odd years roundabout. So now we know how you can make some really terrible mistakes. But that first time when you're like, I can't believe my parents did this or said that,
right,
that's something that everybody can empathize with, I think.
Right. It definitely adds a dimension to the Wonder Woman character and this whole conflict that she's had with her mother for quite a while. Now, I don't know what came before this. It sounds like they've had their problems plenty of times in the past.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. And that's something, again, that people can, especially young ladies and Wonder Woman, obviously anyone can read it, but the primary demographic, young ladies and mothers and daughters have a special relationship. And I don't want to comment too much about it being neither, but I don't think it's uncommon for daughters to have to push back against their mothers in a way that I don't know that sons always have to do with dads. Mm. But again, we're speaking in incredible generalities there.
Right. Well, what's knocked me back when I was reading this book, I've already talked about, which is the art. I remember looking just at the first panel going, whoa, wait a second. This is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And then it just continues throughout the whole. It's very consistent and it's very, very 90s. And I love it. I really
underrated storytelling too, because almost every big reveal you turn the page, it's a big splash.
Right. I'd say that my favorite aspect out of this was just kind of watching the contest and the challenges as they unfolded. And of course, Wonder Woman trying to handle everything with as much grace as she can and as much power as she can. She obviously wants to win this contest. It comes down to her. She goes through it, man. She almost drowns. She has to be saved by Artemis at one point. Artemis is way ahead of her at the end, but she's catching up.
She saves Artemis.
Right.
And she has to free herself from the tree limb that she hangs herself on because Artemis had gotten turned to stone by Alundra Blaze.
Medusa.
Darry doesn't know what that is.
Which, by the way, they don't really cover how, or at least I didn't see where they covered. I assume you kill the Medusa or you send her away. You then correct the whole stone problem because she was stoned one second. She gets launched off.
That's what was intimated there.
Okay.
It wasn't spelled out because she says they were stoned, but then they're ahead of her in the race and she's hanging on the limb like she's Wile E. Coyote, but the limb's not going to snap for her. She's going to figure a way back up.
But yeah, she gets almost there, almost able to win the contest. Then she trips and falls. And that panel where she's on the ground, just kind of picking herself up, and all you kind of see is her just looking up, and she is just seething. She's got blood coming down. What a great panel. So, all right. I'm ready to move on to the next section of this. I want to make sure to give you guys, okay, Dean has his finger up.
I got a couple more things to say.
All right, I love it. Go ahead.
You know you love it. So number one, let's talk about Zero Hour. Because Zero Issue is because of Zero Hour. There was Zero Month. Everybody had a Zero issue.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we don't have to talk about Zero Hour in of itself, but isn't it like this was a perfect one? Think about it. Every fucking DC comic that month was Zero. It was supposed to be a jumping on point for every one of them. And sometimes that was difficult. You have like 4 Batman books. How can you have 4 distinct jumping on points? But they did all right for the most part. But this was an excellent one. If you walked in and you're like, okay, it's Zero Month, I'm going to try Wonder Woman. I'm Darry, I'm Jesse. I've never read any Wonder Woman. I'm busy reading Cyberforce. There's a woman here. Her name's that's my Wonder Woman. Cyblade. My Wonder Woman.
I want to go on record as saying I prefer ballistic over.
Yeah, I knew you prefer ballistic.
Prefer ballistic.
She's got a head
It's true. It's true.
If you pick this up, you would be very inclined to probably get the next issue. And it also told you the origin of Wonder Woman. It's not an easy trick to pull off.
That's true.
Now, let's talk about the contest a little bit, because it's a weird combination of like Demasterian gladiators hitting each other with jousts and stuff and doing this weird stuff. And there's war games. And also there's a lot of running and jumping and javelin throwing. So It reminded me of the Belle and Sebastian song, The Stars of Track and Field. And y'all probably don't listen to Belle and Sebastian, but they're an amazing group, and everyone should listen to them. Just what a beautiful, lush indie pop. And it's an incredible song. And I thought of it. I was like, look, here are the stars of track and field. And then that song would later inspire a band to name themselves the Stars of Track and Field. And they have a good song called Movies of Antarctica. So that's what I wanted to say about that.
Belle and Sebastian.
Yeah, they're fantastic, from Scotland.
So I think there's a spot in my brain that knows that they're a band, but all I remember is the fucking cartoon. Do you remember the cartoon?
That's what they named themselves after.
Okay, so. All right. That makes a lot of sense. I remember watching the cartoon, I think, on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Like in the afternoons.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
With like Danger Mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my jam right there, buddy.
Yeah, I have a Danger Mouse Funko Pop.
Oh.
Emily's like, who's Danger Mouse? And I was like, don't you worry about who Danger Mouse is. Don't you worry about it. No, I explained it to her. I was like, it's some British cartoon. It was cool. I don't remember a lot about it, but I liked it, and I'll give these people $8 for this.
Yeah, that's a nice little piece of history.
I got to agree though with Dean's assessment of Zero Hour. A lot of those Zero issues they're not great, but this one I liked a lot. I think this was one of the best issues in the entire contest, and I love that reveal that everyone is looking at Diana and they're like, "Why do you look like that?" And she's like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And then the reveal that Diana was sculpted from clay and her mother sculpted her based on her sister. And at first you think, oh, she died, she went away, whatever. It's like, no. This woman was betrayed by your mother. Your mother feels very, very bad about this. And she's held on to that for who knows how many centuries. And Diana has to live with this. Yeah, her mother is not being great to her. She finds out that there's a reason to it, right? She wants to try to make up for this thing she did that has been entombed in mythology. And I thought that was a really good reveal, a really good way of making their relationship not just mother and daughter fighting. No, I wanted to do something good with you, and that is running counter to your desire to save the planet from itself.
Think about this too, right? Her mom's her whole life, I don't want you in this contest. I don't want you out of man's world. Why? Because a man once like fucking literally fucked you and then also figuratively fucked you? Because you got duped by a man? You think I'm stupid like you were? That had to get home. It's like, oh, okay, so this is why you've been so weirdly protective. You think I'm going to make the exact same mistakes you did. Mm-hmm. And listen, y'all have kids. I ain't got no kids. But I think y'all both know as good parents, it's something you have to watch out for, that sadly kids have to make their own mistakes on some level. And you can't worry that they're going to make the same mistake you did, because number one, if they do, what was you going to do about it? Number two, buddy, people find all kinds of new ways to make the same mistakes. There's all this new technology and different things now, and you can't keep kids from exploring themselves and exploring the world. And the more you try, the more they're going to find a way to screw themselves right out from under you, and you'll wind up with a bad relationship. You can't let your past experience determine what you will and won't allow your child to do. Also, this loving submission crap, that's horseshit.
Okay.
That don't sound right. Because listen, in theory, I'm all for the loving, but submission's weird, right? It's like, oh, well, I've been so gracious to you. You owe me this submission. That's dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. That's wild. And it's the old, I don't know if you've ever seen this meme. People talk about, you need to treat me like a person. And then people who are authorities, that means treating them like an authority. And what they're saying is, I'm not going to treat you like a person. That means if you don't treat them like an authority, they're going to treat you like a person. And I feel like there's a lot of that going on here. And with that loving submission stuff, she's like, oh, you need to stay here and be in loving submission to me and watch ladies make pots or whatever the fuck that one lady was doing. Which good for them. It's wild that you think because you spared these Amazons' lives after you used them as cannon fodder, that you should be able to just boss them around, or because this is your daughter that she has to do something for literally eternity in this case. It's fucking wild. Loving submission's a weird thing. I don't, in this case, I feel like it's dysfunctional.
Yeah. I love how we get a situation where Hippolyta explains to Diana, Antiope's sect of Amazons attack them at one point, and then all of a sudden Cersei shows up, throws them into a demon dimension, and now they have to kind of work together. But I love how Hippolyta's explanation of how, okay, everything's done. You guys, we're going to bless you with the opportunity to go live over here. And then when Diana goes to talk to Artemis, and Artemis is like, is that what they told you? Okay, well, let me tell you how that actually went down. They Spanished us to one of the worst places. Then she goes and checks it out, and she's looking it over and starts to realize even more how
it looks like a place they go on Save the Children.
Right.
Like on those commercials with the 800 number. For a cup of coffee, you will save half of the population of the city. That's a little funny. It's bad.
Yeah. Just furthering the divide between Diana and her mother when she starts to see this. So a lot of layers here, but yeah, what ends up happening is at the end of this part of the story, Artemis is now Wonder Woman. They're both back in Boston. Well, for a little bit, Artemis is now over in New York. So I'm going to pick up here. You guys got anything else to say?
How does that happen, though? She just goes to New York? Was that all set up?
That
was one of my questions, was like, how'd she get this done? How'd she get connected with these folks?
I have no idea. She shows up and they're like, here's our business card. Oh, okay.
To be fair, if you show up and you're like, I'm Wonder Woman and I can fly and I can do all this other stuff, you'll find people to represent you.
Thanks for joining us. Unspoken Issues is part of the UnspokenDecade.com, the home for 90s comics, blogs, and podcasts. Unspoken Issues also has a Facebook group you can join if you are interested. Just search the Unspoken Issues podcast and request to join. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.